Are you ready?
Oh, I was boring. Once I get this yawn out.
Psych yourself up. Get ready, bub.
Bub? Who do you think you are, Logan?
I am. Snicked.
Hey, you got the sound effect right for once.
Swip.
Nope, that's...
Snick. Actually, I'm saying snick. I'm not even saying it right.
Snick was Saturday Night Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that's not the sound that Wolverine makes. Snick. Snick, snick, snick.
Snick.
Snick, snick, snick.
Snicked.
Snickelodeon. Welcome in, our dear friends, once again to the Serious
But
Spirituality
not so.
podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Halina Schriefer.
Oh, my name's Paul Narus.
And we are here today to talk about balance, as we have a very special episode for you today. An exclusive look
Just
at
like all the other episodes.
maintaining balance within emotions. And if you haven't if you haven't catched our
If you ain't
previous
watched the earlier ones,
episodes, watch this one first, and then go back and watch all the other episodes we have.
make a day out of
fear
it.
And
Get a
faith
pizza
and
or some
spirit
chicken
guides
wings.
and intuition and all kinds of, what did we talk about? Dreams. We talked about dreams, authenticity, kinds of things. This is the 15th episode.
Whoa.
15th episode. Bless you.
It just made me sneeze. I'm allergic to 15 episodes, I think.
Uh-oh, this is going to be quite the ride today then. So, maintaining balance
Within.
emotions.
Yep.
So, emotions are fickle creatures.
Stop. This is too absurd.
But when I see emotions visually, I see it as like a sine wave. You know what a sine wave is? Like
Yeah,
sound
I know,
wave, you know, the up and downs, right? And it's constantly moving. It's constantly flowing, and sometimes...
Literally, the definition of the word emotion is movement.
Oh, really? Yes. I didn't know that. That makes sense then. But sometimes we have emotions that are extremely, we'll call them positive, you know, like having incredible joy, having incredible excitement. I don't know, what's something else that's positive? Happiness, all those good things, creativity. That's it.
Sure.
Just those four.
Just keep it simple.
Just keep it simple. But then we drop down and we may have grief, we may have sadness.
And this is where the list gets
long.
long.
We may have confusion. We know all the ones that are down here. So what we are aiming to discover today is, even while the wave of emotions is going up and down, that we can maintain a level of balance or neutrality throughout it and be a witness to the emotions so we can gather spiritual understanding versus riding that wave up and then crashing it down like a roller coaster where I vomit and...
Right, like being reactive to things.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you brought up that word, so talk about reactivity, if you may.
Oh, I may. But not right. Anyway, what reactivity, the realization of being reactive versus actively engaging. We sense an emotion, maybe it's a negative emotion, and we choose to run. Our fight or flight kicks in, even on a subconscious level of, it may not be physically threatening to us, but we'll run emotionally or mentally from the emotion. Like, say you fear death, and something pops into your head about death, and you immediately change the subject in your brain. That is a reaction. But do you actually contemplate what's happening in that moment? And generally the answer is no. And if we're going to maintain balance through things, we need to be conscious of what's happening within us. So when we experience a positive or a negative emotion, instead of reacting to it, we sit in this neutral space where we realize what triggered it and what the effects of that trigger we want to accomplish.
And emotion, the movement, is prompted by reactions from the external world. So if we experience a trauma, something outside of us coming inwards, and it's stirring up something inside of us, and we continue to hold on to that for as long as it takes to develop an understanding of the situation and to ultimately release that energy we call emotion back out into the universe. And where we get caught, I think, is putting so much emphasis on the external world. And well, if the external world did this to me, then it needs to do something different in order to bring me back into balance. But that's never going to accomplish anything. You know, if we were abandoned by our fathers, you know, we may cling to our partners as we get older because that fear of abandonment still exists. And so we're expecting everybody else outside of us to continue to keep us around so we can feel back into balance. But people die, partners leave, we may leave, and then we feel that sense of loss. So it's not really accomplishing anything until we can go inside and heal the part of ourself that feels pain, that feels out of balance. And to do that, allow the emotion to come up. If we're getting this resurgence of feelings of abandonment, maybe that's sadness or loneliness, let those emotions come up, but we don't need to do anything about it.
Right.
We simply need to witness their presence. Oh, here it is again. Let's see what it does, and then go from there.
I want to bring up a point too, is that a lot of times in that understanding of that, we get caught suppressing things, and that's not a positive thing to do either. Like, how many times have we heard, like, don't bring your bad day home with you from work, you know, or whatever. Do you actually analyze how you're going to release that bad day, or do you just suppress it so that you don't share it with other people? Or do you just do anyway?
Well, and that could be a reason why we suppress things anyways, because we don't want to cause harm outside of ourselves. We don't want to be reactive. So instead of dealing with the energy in a mindful way to acknowledge and to release it, we hoard it inside of ourselves because, and this is a practice that I know very well because that's something that I condition myself to do is, well, I don't want to cause harm to anybody outside of myself. So I'm just going to hold on to this pain that I'm feeling and not talk to anybody about it. But then guess who gets sick? I do. Because I'm holding on to that energy. It wants to transform, it wants to move. And if it's not able to move out, it's just going to keep stirring inside of us.
Correct.
Yeah.
You are correct.
I think so. Anyways, that's my own understanding of it.
I mean, that is the understanding of it. If it doesn't get externalized or broken down and externalized, then it stays inside. And that's the difference. Like, think about it like if you're, how do I want to describe this? If you're taking things to the recycling bin and you have a box of cereal and the bag inside the box has food in it and the box doesn't, you're not going to recycle the bag part of it. Mm-hmm. So you throw it in the garbage. You have to break it down. Or flattening boxes, for that matter, making more space, making it more digestible for the outside world.
Yeah.
If you break your emotions down instead of suppressing them, then when you release them out into the wild, they are not as effective at changing the environment around them.
And we are in control of how we transform energy. So if we are feeling, let's say here, we'll follow the path of energy. So somebody outside of us does something that we don't like, and we internalize that energy, we can then externalize it and react. If somebody says, hey, you're stupid, we can feel, like, oh, wow, I'm mad at this
How
person.
dare they?
And then throw that, no, you're stupid. And then it just kind of keeps going, back
Right.
and forth. And we share this negative energy. But what we have the power to do, and this is how we can change the world and modify how we relate within our relationships, is somebody calls us stupid, take that energy, don't store it, but decide what to do with it. Okay, so we have all of this. What do I want to do? And when we grow in our understanding, we can begin to transform it into love. So we can see, well, what they're saying isn't you're stupid. What they're saying is, I feel really upset that I didn't get to spend time with you yesterday.
Stupid.
Or yeah, you stupid. So we can begin to use compassion to see, well, what actually is happening? What's the true reality of the situation here? And then take that energy of stupidness, transform it into love, and then meet them with that love. We can pour that back out to them. Or doing
You can even do it sarcastically. Love you too, buddy.
Love you too. We can do that with ourselves too, as we have these negative thoughts cycling in our mind. If it comes up to the surface, Halina, you stupid, why did you forget to get the cereal at the grocery store? Witnessing that thought coming up, am I stupid? Oh wait, I forgot because I was thinking about this other thing because I'm really concerned about and then let that go, let it go.
Yeah, the onions were more important than the
onions
cereal.
were more important. Maybe I didn't even need the cereal to begin with.
Exactly.
And
There's 3 boxes in the cabinet already. What do you need a 4th box for until those 3 are empty?
Yeah.
Get the onion.
Get the onion. That's for breakfast. So coming into the balance of emotion, how would you say, so let's say a big event happens in our life. Maybe we get laid off from our job, to use an example. What do we do when we're approached and we're caught off guard with the situation? How can we start to work to bring the balance to the surface versus getting caught up in the emotion?
Welcome to the Ordinary Pioneer Spiritual Healing Community, where we offer gifts of healing, allowing for low and no income individuals to receive healing services at low to no cost. To support our mission, visit ordinarypioneer.com and make a donation. Your donation supports members of the community in receiving the support they need to experience peace.
How can we start to work to bring the balance to the surface versus getting caught up in the emotion?
I think that I have to say it's simpler in my world because I just have dealt with that before. So, and I'm a fairly non-reactive person, but dealing with something that hits us off or catches us off guard that has what would be perceived as a negative impact to others doesn't have to be perceived as a negative impact to ourselves. You're going to get lots of moments of, oh, sorry that happened to you, but is it really that bad of a thing? And yeah, maybe you have these grandiose plans that you've built for years based around this position you have at this company, but that doesn't mean that you don't get to carry your experience forward and you don't get to create monumental events from that. Like if we're talking about a negative monumental event, the opposite of that would be a positive monumental event. You can just shift your energy towards that. But sitting down and analyzing it instead of just immediately going, I'm screwed, that's the reaction of it. The neutrality of it is observing it and finding the different options that you have to move forward with it.
brings the logic into it. And like last week we talked about the masculine energy, bringing the logic, bringing the actionability into it.
Right.
We can allow ourselves to be the punching bag for the universe, or we can join with the universe. I don't know, this is a weird analogy. I don't know where I'm going
And
with
just
this.
start punching people.
How dare you take some action? No, don't do that. We'll cut that part out of this video.
No, we won't.
We need people to see that we only talk about positive things.
That's too much fluff.
But which I want to get into in that conversation too, but looking at the situation from a logic perspective takes the reactivity out of it, because maybe you can verify this along with me, but a lot of times I've been reactive in my life to certain situations that have caught me off guard. It hasn't ended well. I've had to take accountability for words I've said, or ways I've responded that were unconscious, that were acted from a place of emotion, a place of fear, a place of imbalance, versus in the logic and taking a pause and contemplation to see, well, what is actually happening here? And do I know for a fact that this is a negative thing? Because you could get a call the next day of a job offer that just happened to be the job of your dreams. Life can change in an absolute instant.
Just like it already did.
Just like it already did. So if it changes instantly in the negative way, expect it to change instantly in a positive way. It may not happen the next day. There may be some inner work to do, and that is the blessing of this life circumstance for you. But there's always going to be positivity that comes out of it, because that's what we're here. We're moths to the flame. We're moths to the light. Maybe the flame isn't, because then we would just burn up and sizzle, and that's not very comforting. But we're drawn into
the fire
light.
in our heart doesn't do that.
It's true. It never burns out.
Exactly.
But if we understand that we are constantly being drawn back to the Creator, back to Source, then it doesn't matter what life circumstances look like or even feel like. It's always going to have a positive spin to it.
I think we need to add the word perceived to what you just said.
Ooh,
the
yeah, say more.
perceived negative situation to a perceived positive situation. Because perception is really what we're dealing with here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times our perception of things is based on other people's perception of things. And that's something that we need to do with our inner work and our meditative time, is like, what is our perception of a specific situation? Is it really as awful as it seems? Or are we able to see the positives, perceive the positives that can come from it? The more you have the perception of a positive outcome, the more likely you're going to actually visually see a positive outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the perspectives of other people influence us, or can influence us greatly. If we are in a community that believes life to be a certain way, that here's the good, here's the bad, then we are going to take on those beliefs for our own, but that may not be what's most aligned for our spirit. And I'll use the example of when I was sick, and I knew that I was being led to leave my job. I knew I was being led to but embrace the ways of healing that I knew to be effective. And that's what I did. And I had so many people telling me, well, you can't go without sugar. It'll affect your blood sugar. You can't fast. People need to eat. And you're so, like, I get like, you're too thin. You can't lose weight. Guess what? I didn't lose weight. I had people telling me, you need to go see a doctor and all of these things. But my spirit was calling me into a different way of being. And if I would have taken on the perspectives of the other people, which were rooted in fear, I wouldn't have gotten to this moment today where I can look back and see, wow, like, I did everything according to my spirit, and I'm really glad that I did, because I learned so much, and everything came about in a way that was smooth and balanced and a way for me to reach my potential for physical healing versus going with, relying on certain medication or getting all these tests done. I just de-stressed my life, and that's what I knew I needed to do, and then it was done.
Right.
Not allowing those other perspectives to shift that. But and also what I learned in that is having that balance of, I just left my job. I'm sick as sick as
HE
double hockey sticks. And I felt this like incredible amount of peace about it, because for one of the first times in my life, I knew I was locked into my spirit, and I knew that everything was happening according to plan. And I didn't know what that plan was, but I felt peace in knowing that. You just have
to be in it.
Yes, I was in it, and that was a blessing.
And that's why taking time to analyze and sit with things is so important, because we don't know what's going to happen next. And the more we can just process it as opposed to the reaction to it is so important, because the reaction can be equally as negative impact on ourselves as, you hear stories about people who are laid off of their jobs and taking revenge. And it's like, okay, how do we take a bad situation and make it worse? By ending up in jail over it, but that can also have its positives as well. So it doesn't really, you have to really sit and analyze what's happening. Otherwise, you're just stuck in wherever your reactions carry you.
Well, it's a cycle. The reaction is a cycle from how we've reacted before to similar strong emotions.
Right, or other people's reactions.
Yeah. The reaction, I'm recalling a story that my son told me, where I think he was in kindergarten or something, and some kid clocked him right in the arm, and my son clocked the kid back in the arm. Guess who got in trouble? My kid. And he's like, well, that's not fair. I said, well, did you punch him? Well, yeah. There you go. Like, you don't have to react the way that they are reacting. And when we do that, we're meddling in the energy. We're stirring the pot even more. If it's already stirred, let's not stir it anymore. We want it to settle. So settling comes from being present and being curious about, well, what's in store for me now, versus trying to take control of the situation. And that's what we're doing, right? When we react, we're, okay, I'm in charge, universe. You clearly don't know what you're doing. I will react. I will speak up against this person, or leave this person, or move, well, guess what? We're going to have that cycle repeat over and over and over again until we can be present with the energy that's there, understand the root of it. And then when we have the understanding of the root of it, the next time it comes back, we can just watch it. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's because my dad left. Okay, there's that feeling. There it is. I know it's not going to be here forever, so let me just watch it. Oh, okay, there it goes. Oh, here's something else that's coming through.
Yep.
That's what I say in my head all the time. Oh, there it goes.
Not me.
No. How does your inner voice go?
It goes,
I don't get it.
Exactly.
You said something to me the other day, and
it sits and observes.
Yeah. This was so perfect. I was having one of those days where I'm just like, everything's falling over and all these things, and I think I'm screwing everything up. And I was trying to feed the cat. No, I was taking out recycling. That's what I was doing. And I spilled the cat's water all over the floor, and I was like, rah, rah, rah. What the H? No. Can't do anything right. And then you came in and you said, what happened? I said, I spilled the water. Big deal. It's chaos. And you like, yep, that happens sometimes.
Yep,
and that was it.
Sometimes you spill the cat's water.
Sometimes. But I was like, then I had to decide. What you offered me was to decide to to come into your understanding that you were holding for me of being non-reactive, or allow myself to be in the chaos of everything. And I decided I'm going to be in the chaos a little bit because it feels good to be in here, and then I'll come back out.
See, cats teach us all sorts of lessons by putting their stuff in places.
So they moved. Squeakers just like move the water.
They do.
Right
They
where the
move
box
the
was.
bowls.
Here it is. Okay, here she comes. Here she comes. The little cat paws are like, okay, here she goes. Oh, there she is. High five, Kiki.
That's the reason they have the food dish that doesn't scoot across the floor. Is because that's a lot harder to clean up. Yeah, it is. You can't absorb cat food.
No,
but you can absorb water with a paper towel.
Yeah, you can. After I get mad a couple of times.
Or you just go, oh no, something got wet.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It happens sometimes. So
no sense crying over spilled cat water.
I know, right? So false positivity, fluff as we've been calling it. So this is something that, see, I usually go into the dramatic negative. So I'm going to share more about, I don't think I fluff a lot. I think I'm dramatic on the negative. This is terrible. I'm going to die from this. But that's one side of the spectrum. The other side is this show of positivity. Oh, well, God's in charge. Everything's going to be okay. But I work with students because I think with me, I don't know if you notice this with students, I think students have an expectation that I want them to be positive all the time, that I want them to speak about what they know rather than feel what they're actually feeling. And I had a student a couple months back who was going through a big life change, and they were telling me about it, and they were getting all upset about it. And then they said, I could feel their energy shift and them come out of the emotion. They said, well, it's okay because everything works out for a reason. And it was that. And I said, well, hold on. Let's just go back into the heart a little bit and give yourself time to acknowledge the feeling that's coming up so we can get to what is it that's really happening underneath? What is the actual fear? It's not, your employment changing. It is something beneath that. Is it a fear of survival? Is it a fear of failure? What is it that we're actually afraid of that is stirring up this emotion? Because if we jump right into God is good all the time, then we're not actually solving the problem that's underneath.
Yeah, we're not addressing anything.
Right.
We're suppressing.
We're suppressing it. And it's like the fake it until you make it. We could live in that world where it's rainbows and puppy dogs and all is well and God is good, and all of that. But that gets tiring after a while, I think. And it doesn't allow us to feel the full spectrum of emotion so we can understand ourselves more fully spiritually. Like emotion.
Yeah.
And none of this is about knocking emotion and don't feel emotion. The emotion exists. So utilize it, learn from it, but not to learn just the positive feel-good emotions, learn the deep, dark ones too.
Let them spill out.
Like the water.
Yeah, sometimes you spill water.
Yeah.
And sometimes you spill emotion. And sometimes emotion gets spilled on you, and sometimes water gets spilled on you.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
You just clean it up.
Yeah.
Or
you got wet feet.
Go out in the sun, and then the sun will take care of it. It's metaphoric.
Is it?
I don't know.
Because I just slipped into Here Comes the Sun.
Oh, okay.
It's metaphoric for the sun god.
What would you say would be a practice that we can speak of if a big life circumstance happens we feel that emotion come up, how can we start to practice, like, what do we actually do in that moment?
Take a breath.
Okay.
I mean, that's the start. You have to acknowledge that it happened. That a lot of people want to live in a state of disbelief, and that's what creates the negative emotions, like, or fighting against it. Like, it already happened. You can't sit there and go, no, 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 no. Think about it from this perspective. Think about it from that perspective. You're telling other people to do what you need to be doing.
Like I can't believe this. Like,
Right.
we're literally turning our heads away from reality.
Right. Or if you're in the room still with the person who's terminating your position, arguing with them isn't going to, oh, okay, I didn't look at it from that
sorry.
perspective.
Yeah.
It's not like I get paid to do this or something. I don't know. You have to understand that people have their opinions, and that doesn't have anything to do with you. And you got fired, you got fired. That's the bottom line. You can be upset about it, but you can also be glad that it happened. If you're, say we're not talking about a job. If you're in a room with 12 people and they all don't like you, do you want to stay in that room? No. So if everybody at your job's like, you're not doing your job, that's their opinion. You may think, I'm doing my job to the best of my ability. And maybe that's true. It's true to you, then it's true. But you don't have to sit in a room with 12 people who disagree with you. So, yay, I got fired.
I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this. Can we be open-minded to hear why these 12 people aren't agreeing with us, and be vulnerable and humble enough to see, like, where we're quick to blame another person, blame the boss, blame the 12 people in the room, versus, well, what is it that I can take accountability for? Did I show up late every day this past week? Then that's that work that we need to begin to internalize and work through. But not, you
And
said,
usually,
like, yeah.
Usually it's things like that we see coming, and we want to pass the blame onto other people, where we know inherently why this is happening.
Yeah.
But we don't want to admit that it was our fault, so we pass the blame on to someone else. That's usually what happens.
Like we talked last week about, like, the inauthenticity of revealing. We can't reveal any of our flaws, to other people,
Right.
because that's embarrassing,
Right. So
but
I'll put this mask on.
so put it on and blame this person for what I see as misfortune, versus actually looking in and saying, well, where can I grow from this? And maybe the growth is acknowledging where we did fall short. Maybe the growth is acknowledging that I did the best I could, and what I did was great, and I'm going to own that, and then take that energy moving forward. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, taking responsibility doesn't have to be, what did I do wrong? It could be, to use these words, what did I do right? Where did I show up? And carrying that forward, and acknowledging that this isn't the environment for me to be in authentically, because they don't see things as I see things. And that's okay, because now I'm going to be walking into community that will receive me. Going back to the question that I asked is what we can do in that moment. And you said, take a breath. And I agree with that, and to, actually turn that into, maybe you need, 20 or 1,000 breaths to work through that. But as much as we can remain present and in the unknown of it, and which is scary, because we want to know things, we want to be in control, and we don't want to be caught off guard. But can we surrender our life over to the higher powers and trust that what's on the other side of this is a blessing? But we can't get there unless we're present, unless we calm our bodies and calm our minds and come into that higher understanding.
Calming is a byproduct of the access to being in a perceptive state. I think that a lot of times it's like, calm down, but that's not a directive.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not explaining anything to anybody when you say calm down. Say, take a breath, take another, take another. The calming is a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to separate those two things.
Yeah, thank you for that. One of our community members recently shared that they're going through a really big transition, and one thing that they're working on recently is where they've maybe looked at 3 or 4 different perspectives of where their life could be. Their work is now looking at all the different perspectives that they can perceive, and not just focusing on the ones that seem positive, but also knowing that even the ones that seem negative or scary will also be positive as well. So not veering away from the challenge, from the discomfort, which is what we've been talking about in this last week, we want to take the path of least resistance. That's where the mind is most comfortable. But if we look at all paths as a blessing, then we get to choose, do I want to play it safe here? Do I want to live a life with the blinders on, and that is just, I go up, I show to work, I everything in life is in perfect working order, or do I want to actually experience the fullness of my being, to experience my human potential and my spiritual potential? And for us to do that, we got to get our hands a little dirty, but breathing through it.
Dirt is a perception too.
Everything's a perception.
What?
This
I
podcast
perceive that you're mocking me.
Podcast is going to turn into, it's going to get shorter and shorter to the point where it's everything and nothing is nothing, and nothing is everything. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
None of this is real, man.
Oh yeah, I can't slip into that voice right now.
Come on.
I'm saying it's not a possibility.
It's not a possibility.
It's not a
That's
choice.
just your perception. You're choosing not to. Well, thank you so much for watching.
Anyways.
We appreciate it. Give this video a like if you will. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and hit that little dingle bell.
Oh, God.
So I had to look this up, right? Because dingle bell sounds kind of
Dirty.
But, okay, so my game for you.
She Googled Dingle Bell and it only comes up with Jingle Bell.
It does. So I want you to put in the comments what you think dingle bell sounds like, and this will be our fun little game.
Don't hold back either.
Don't hold back. Be your authentic self. And we will share in the next episode what our thoughts are, what a dingle bell is.
I'm going to make you say them live.
Versus, all I'm talking about is the little notification bell, the dingle bell, like dingles.
Yeah, but you're also talking about what people hear that they're going to leave in the comments.
I know, I'm curious. Let's get our minds in the gutter. Anyways, if you're new to Ordinary Pioneer, we welcome you. Visit ordinarypioneer.com. Look at all of our different offerings that we have, including our Gifts of Healing program, which supports low and no income individuals in receiving healing support within the community, as well as community involvement. And our ask is that you offer in a donation of any amount into this program. You can go into ordinarypioneer.com, and on the top there's a banner that you can click on, and any amount helps, is supportive, and within the community to help people in need.
Yeah. The
Any
ones that are in
words?
need.
Any last words?
Are you asking me what I'd like on my tombstone?
Pepperoni and cheese.
I'm going with onions, mushrooms,
Ew, okay,
and...
cut.
What's wrong with onions and mushrooms?
Namaste.
And Italian sausage.
Namaste.